channel is live. Unapologetic, unadulterated, and absolutely uncompromising. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world, and welcome back to the home, the haven, the stronghold, and the everlasting super fortress of intelligent black thought. We are the Black Media, just in case other old defunct outlets have forgotten. And this is the BlackChannel.net radio program, and I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically Black college, university of higher education and learning in the cosmos. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, we're going to be dealing with a few things. Might, I don't know, take a few phone calls, just depends on how things go. First and foremost here, before I go any further, I want to let you all know that in case you forgot this old saying, just because you aren't thinking about politics doesn't mean that politics is not thinking about you. I made a prediction when all of this started. I made a prediction to you all, and it has come to pass exactly the way that we said it was. I predicted that this coronavirus outbreak pandemic was going to be utilized and seized upon by the states, while everybody else was telling you watch out for the federal government. And while people are yelling about bills and whatnot, the federal government, that doesn't mean you don't watch what's happening with the federal government. The federal government is moving at a snail's pace compared to what's happening in the states. I have warned everyone from the very beginning, watch out for the states. The states are going to be the main culprits attempting to capitalize on this outbreak. Sure enough, what you're seeing is what I predicted. While they claim that they are, quote, lifting quarantines and lifting restrictions for businesses, it is individuals that they are not doing it for. It is individuals. They're making sure that they are lifting things as far as businesses, but for the people, they're still leaving that wide open. And there's only one group of people since the very beginning of this. There's only one group of people that they have been targeting with this. That is black people. From New York to California, your so-called liberal bastions, where you've been told that you've got good democratic representation. These ain't the good old boys from the southern United States. And where have they been targeting black people? I mean, targeting them loudly, stubbornly. You would have figured that they didn't have time for this. Oh, no. They got time for this. They've got time for this. They're going to make time for this. Because they'll never have another opportunity like this again to be able to round up black people in large numbers and inflict and impose white supremacy in large numbers. They're not going to have another chance like this again. They have to seize the opportunity now while they have it. So what you're seeing is in places like Texas, oh, we're reopening the state, but we're making it legal for the police all those checkpoints that we told you that we didn't have in place. There's nothing in the executive order lifting the restrictions in the state of Texas that addresses check. Nothing about that. So that means it's still in effect. They can still run up on you at any time and ask where you're from, nigga. Yeah, you thought it was the worst thing that happens if black folks send it to you. They're letting you know, well, where you're from. In the state of Florida, the governor has said they're moving from phase 1 to a full phase 1 next week. Governor DeSantis isn't just a white supremacist, he's an idiot, but you have to understand. They understand what they're doing. It's all being done for a purpose, and the literal checkpoints they have in Florida are in place still. Oh, you're in phase 1, but yeah, there's plenty of money in the Florida state budget to have checkpoints to harass and get documentation on just how many black folk are coming into the state of Florida. Nothing about illegals, but they do want to know how many black folk are coming in. State of South Carolina still rolls on. In the state of California, there's been a misconception about the way that the state was supposed to be at their safer at home order, their stay at home order was supposed to expire a few days ago, and then the governor announced they were going to extend it. But in Los Angeles County, a lot of folk were confused about what they heard. Because in Los Angeles County, if you listen to what they said, they specifically said, oh, there actually isn't an end date. There actually isn't an end date. Folks thought the governor was really going to pull back on things. That didn't really happen like that. Some things, yes, other things, no. But in Los Angeles County, they didn't say it's going to be extended for another month. And some people have been passing around articles talking about, oh, it's extended until July. That's not what the woman said. That isn't what she said. She said, I don't want to give you an end date. We don't really want to hand out an end date. We're going to leave it in place as long as it needs to be. That doesn't mean that this is what she said, that doesn't mean that all parts of it are going to keep being extended. But the safer at home order, as a rule, is being extended. We don't have an end date. There is no final date. And who they've been going after. Who they've been going after. You see, if they jump on you all at once, everybody is going to jump up and realize you can't scald people with water and figure they're not going to say something. So they're trying to figure out how they can ease it all in and take you out bite by bite. So the question becomes, well, what do we do about it there? Who do you look for what to do? Where's a source of reliable information? Now that you're being told, you know what? If you love your cell phone so much, that's okay. We will lock you in your home. Your very house is becoming the prison. And it didn't take tanks. It didn't take guns. It didn't take brown shirts going door to door. It just took the flick of a pen. And next thing you know, I sure hope you like your cell phones and your iPads because you're going to be spending a lot of time with those with no real end date. How many of y'all have been able to go back to work now? Oh, they're opening up the state of Texas. How many of you in the state of Texas have actually been able to go back to work? How many of you? I mean, everybody who was already at work, yeah, you're there. But for the folks who weren't already at work, how many of you are being able to go back now? How many of you? How many of you have that as an option for you now that you can actually go back? How many of you in Florida have been able to go back to work now? Or is it just those of you who were still working through this thing? You still got a job, and everybody else, and not so much. Not so much. What I'm saying to you is it sounds like the world that you left back in February, and that ain't the one you're coming back to. That they are changing the fundamental socio-economic landscape of the country right under your feet. They're changing the socio-economic landscape and didn't ask you what it was you wanted. Those of you who were working the whole time, yeah, you're still working. Everybody else who figured they were going to get opened up and go back to work, and not so much. Not so much. Not so much. So what do you do about it in these times here? Well, it depends on who you listen to, because if you listen to some folks, they're going to tell you that what you need to do right now is you need to pray and vote. The old boot lick black media is telling you, well, we know it's rough out there, but we know what you need to do. What you need to do is you all need to get galvanized. You need to get galvanized this November, and you need to get out the vote. So, Byron Allen, who owns the Griot, Byron Allen is telling you you need to go vote. They're getting up their unpaid writers to tell you you need to vote. That's how you deal with brutality and white supremacy. Is you need to vote. And in Louisville, Kentucky, in Georgia, you've heard about the cases of Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery. Breonna Taylor was asleep in her home. The police allege that, oh, it was another one of those cases of mistaken identity. Another case of mistaken identity. We kicked in the door at the wrong house and started blasting. Now, they said they were going to serve a search warrant. They kicked in the wrong door. They came to the wrong place and started shooting. They allege it was accidental. They allege. I submit to you that when you are dealing with the death squads of America, nothing is accidental. Nothing is accidental. So there was a man in her home, And he did the correct thing. When somebody starts shooting in your place, he started busting back. And can you believe, after they murdered Breonna Taylor, they arrested this man and said, we're going to charge him with murder. Well, with attempted murder. And that they didn't do anything wrong. So they're letting you know this is it. It's full-blown white supremacy. And if you are lucky enough to survive, why, we will say that you committed the crime by surviving. That we have a right to assault you. You have no rights that the white man or the white government is obligated to recognize. You have no human rights. You have no rights. So Breonna Taylor's man survived this, but Breonna was murdered because, and by the way, they can't claim that she was a threat. It wasn't like she was sitting there shooting at anybody. Why did she get killed when we know that it was her man who had the gun? How did she get killed? She got killed because it was a wet works operation. They went in to murder everybody. They went in to murder everyone. And they just shot everyone they could. And they didn't count on someone being able to shoot back. They were there to murder everyone. And then are saying, you don't have a right to protect your life. We kicked in the wrong door, we started shooting, and we're here to say that you don't have a right to protect your own life. You don't have a right to do that. We're here to tell you, you don't have any rights. We're just going to murder everyone. Now, Judge Olu Stevens stopped that. But the lesson to learn here, folks, is that you are in a state of war. You are in a state of aggression. You are in a state of hostilities. They are trying to show us that we are going to murder as many of you as humanly possible right now, while we feel like the federal government's not watching and the federal government isn't looking. We're going to see if we can murder as many of you as possible. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do that and see if that works. I want to get into this more in depth, and I'm going to do that. Because I want you to understand what the issue really is. We're going to get into this more in depth. Before we do, we are going to take a very brief non-commercial break. This is the Black Channel. I am the Black Authority. We're in the middle of an unprecedented global pandemic. The CDC now has recommended that every American wear a mask in public to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Masks protect you from other people's germs and protect them from yours. They help you to safely do the essential things you need during this pandemic, like grocery shopping, picking up needed medicines, or going to the doctor. By slowing the spread, you are doing your part to end the pandemic, restart the economy, and return to normal. We are a business that is proud to do our part in providing this much-needed product. Check out our website, iwantamask.com, for the latest pricing. We are proud to offer discounts and free shipping for large orders. This is the Black Channel. I am your host, Black Authority. And what I want to talk about now is I want to talk about what is it you're supposed to do? And why is it that I'm telling you that voting doesn't matter and doesn't work? Why is it I'm saying that? And that's always going to trigger the civil rights generation, the religious zealots generation, the cowardly generation. That's going to trigger them. But you're going to hear about what's going on with us here, okay? First of all, you need to be aware. I want to read for you a couple of excerpts from this article in the Roots. So you all, I mean, the Grio, it doesn't really matter. They're interchangeable. I want you to listen to what it says from Charles Ellison. Headline: Outraged about Ahmaud and Breonna? Channel that energy into a vote. We must honor them with clear political action versus the impatience of a microwave movement. As outrage, fear, and angst bubble up in Georgia and now Kentucky over the grisly murders of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, one question fails to appear in the broader dialogue. How will these tragedies impact the 2020 elections? We can't do anything for the culture about either case if we're not engaged in a targeted political strike on 3 Senate seats, helping Democrats retake the Senate and, just maybe, grabbing 24 electoral college votes that flipped 2 southern states from reliably red to blue in an end to the current White House madness. They go on to say, to the novice political observer or those folks who detest politics altogether, the question seems irrelevant. To some, it may be off-putting, if not disrespectable. What do you mean, politics? But it's very relevant. In fact, it absolutely determines the path and outcome of these cases and where the rest of us end up in the meantime. Whether we accept it or not, the political dimensions are there. The very raw emotional elements in these conversations are already tipping off a general outcry for justice and retribution. We can't arrive at either with just hashtags, protest tears, or fist pumps in the lockdown confines of our homes. Achieving both will be the result of pressures applied from an aligned mix of strategically calibrated protest, mass voter mobilization, and decisive election wins that lead to the dramatic policy and personnel changes needed for redress. In the cases of Arbery and Taylor, Black people, Black organizers, and Black voters should be retaliating through the polls. Many in the advocacy space are looking for these tragedies to spark awareness and a national movement. There is no bigger tipping point opportunity than these here 2020 elections. I'm reading it the way they said it. There is no bigger tipping point opportunity than these here 2020 elections. There is little doubt that the very unapologetic upward trend of vicious violence against Black people has accelerated since the election of Trump in 2016. And this is why the old bootleg media is dead and gone. This is why nobody is taking the old bootleg media as an authority on what to do. They were murdering people nonstop throughout the Obama administration. But the bootleg media, the sellout media, the black puppet media wasn't talking about any of this. You see, the reason that voting doesn't matter in this situation is because they're not telling you a better option to vote for. So what this tells you is this came from the top. They're not telling us to vote in our interests. Show me the Democrat candidate who is saying, I'm going to put these white supremacists in a prison cell or in the grave. I am going to snatch up prosecutors around this country and we are going to put them in prison or the grave. Where's that being promoted as a political position? Where is that to happen? So if you vote Democrat, and once again, these are those vote, by the way, yes, if you found the connections, you're not wrong. Byron Allen is sitting here saying exactly what we said the whole time. If you want to know about your mush mouth, nimmy nominated Nimrods and square stiff jaw nobodies who were telling you vote Democrat down ballot, no, they're now telling you to vote Democrat, period, which is exactly what we told you it would be. The very same folks who were propping up Byron Allen and they were floating that out as a statement then. They were trying to float it out as a motto then and float it out as a position then. And now that Byron Allen's Supreme Court case came out feet first, all of a sudden you see they're bringing it back again. Only this time Byron's doing it directly. Now that his front people, his gay rights front activists, have been debunked and disarmed, now he's coming out himself and saying it. You gotta vote Democrat. Not showing you a single Democrat that is saying what action they're going to take to actually deal with this. Just vote for us. We need justice. Just vote for us. We'll do something. We gotta do something. We will see if we can make something happen. We'll see if we can make something occur. Vote for us. Democrat down ballot. Now it's just changed from Democrat down ballot to Democrat period. It went from Democrat down ballot to Democrat period. And you have to start asking yourself a question. You have to start asking yourself why. Why would you listen to these people? Show me their wins against white supremacy. Show me their wins against the establishment. Show me their wins. Show me where they were actually fighting white supremacy and actually won. Show me the candidate that they are promoting who's actually got a win against white supremacy. Show me the Democrat candidate who's actually got white supremacists saying, oh, hell no. Show me the one who's doing that. Show me the Democrat candidate who has a track record of putting white supremacists in prison, because I can show you a Democrat candidate, Joe Biden, who has a track record of putting unarmed black people in prison for decades with no trial, no evidence, no justification. Oh, yeah, and it didn't take a committee, a survey, a commission, a study. It didn't take any of that. I can show you a Democrat candidate who was very easily able to put black people in prison at the drop of a dime for committing a crime or no crime at all. But I'm looking for the Democrat candidate who has a similar track record about white supremacist operatives, white supremacist candidates, white supremacists, period. I'm not finding them. I'm not finding them. I'm not finding them. And that's the question that I want you to take a look at. You don't see them talking like this. And they're not talking like this because the goal is to get you to vote by any means necessary, even though you're only voting for flip sides of the same damn coin. Your black Democrat candidates have the reason that the new black media has risen to prominence is precisely because your so-called black candidates to a man have every time they show up, the first thing they do is tell you what they will not do for black people. So as you're reading this article, you don't hear anything about what the Democrats are going to do. They're not telling you anything. They go on to say one immediate, not so complicated fix is simply having every last available, eligible, and registered black voter laser focused on not only removing Trump from office, but also destroying Republican control of the Senate. The greatest existential threat to Republicans, conservatives, and the highly organized white nationalist ecosystem supporting them is to suffer defeat in elections. Even Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who sits atop that ecosystem, said it himself. In this country, when you win the election, you get to make policy. Winners make policy and losers go home. Problem. Can anyone show me the policy that the Democrats have spearheaded that has protected black people and punished white supremacists? Can anyone show us what that is? We need to remove the Republicans. Why? So we can put in the Democrats who are going to do the exact same thing? The Republicans haven't done anything to black people. What they have done is said, hell, we're just going to sit back and let the white supremacists in the states run wild on you. No, we're not going to do anything. What we're going to do to you is we're going to sit back and watch. And that's exactly what the Democrats have been doing. Actually, they've been a little bit worse because they instituted 3 strikes. So you have this shell game between these two entities who are both targeting you for death and destruction. And then you have billionaires. Oh, I'm sorry, Byron Allen's not a billionaire, despite what Nimmy-nominated mush-mouth ignoramuses try to tell you. They're not. You got folks who figure if they get in bougie enough and cozy enough with the political establishment, maybe they'll help them get there. That's probably not going to happen either. By the way, probably not going to happen either. Probably not going to happen either. And that's something for you to keep in mind. That's something for you to keep in mind. That if you see the old dead black media sitting up here saying things, then you got to understand that's the reason that they're doing it. That's the reason that they're doing it. That's what you have to understand there. They understand that we are leading the discussion now. We're leading the conversation. And there's a reason why they're worried, and there's a reason why they're scared. They're worried and they're scared because black folk ain't talking about voting. Oh, black people are talking about solutions, but they're not talking about voting. Well, if you're the Democrats right now, you're scared to death because that means that folk understand that we recognize the shell game that you're playing. We recognize the shell game. And the Democrats, everybody who's jockeying for a position on the Democrat plantation, is trying to get black folk to help them get into a better spot. That's not going to help us to get there. It was not a political candidate who murdered Trayvon Martin. That's my point to you. It was not a political candidate who murdered Walter Scott. It was not a political candidate who murdered Ahmaud Arbery. It is not a political candidate who murdered Breonna Taylor. It wasn't political candidates who did that. It was rank and file white supremacists who were doing that. So the question becomes, what are we going to do about those? That becomes the question. What are we going to do about those? Voting doesn't work if you are going to vote for the lesser of two evils. Because understand something, lesser is a subjective term. Lesser is a subjective term. As Black people, if we are not setting the agenda, then voting doesn't work. Now, when white men didn't like what was happening to them, they didn't say, we need to vote. Did you understand that? I'm talking about in state governments that they run. They didn't say, you need to vote. They didn't say that. When white men were upset, they took to the streets with guns. When white men were upset, they took to the streets with weapons. They went to the governor's mansion. They went to the state capitol. In some cases, they went to the homes of the police with their guns. And nobody was killed. Let's be very clear. Nobody had even been killed in those scenarios. They hadn't even been killed. I want to ask you something else. Did you see anybody out there performing? When the white men went to work, did you see anybody performing? Did you see anybody out there dancing? Did you see anybody out there trying to get a record deal or trying to get a TV show? Did you see anybody out there trying to entertain and perform for the crowd? Did you see anything like that? I can show you what they were doing. They got up in arms with their guns and nobody was killed. They were just upset about being told, stay your disease-infested asses home and stop spreading the coronavirus. And they said, I have a God-given right to spread the coronavirus. I'm white. I'm white. Well, then, damn it. That's the whole reason that the country was founded. For my freedom to do whatever damn point. The country is deep. See, you didn't get that part. You're sitting up here saying, are these folks crazy? No, they're not crazy. They're on code. They're on code. They didn't found their country based upon coronavirus supremacy, public health supremacy. They didn't found a country based on that, and they're letting you know, no. The supreme law of the land is not public safety supremacy, it's white supremacy. You're putting something over us, and that ain't gonna happen. And do you notice they didn't march or protest? They immediately went into action because they are ultra sensitive. They understand that if at any moment, if you see anything even begin to encroach on your authority, you must immediately mobilize. You cannot afford to lose any ground. And they're the dominant society. They're the dominant society, and take a look at how ultra vigilant they are about maintaining control. And they are the dominant society. They're not even at any disadvantages, and they won't let you encroach on 1 millimeter of their authority. And if you attempt to do so, they show you that what keeps them in power are two things. Number one, their economy. Number two, the weaponry that protects it. You see, the guns are useless if you have no economy to protect. The economy is what makes them scream. And they're using the guns to protect that. And as soon as you start encroaching on it, they let you know, oh, there will be blood. There will be blood. Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines now. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the blackest radio program in existence, the only one that actually protects your interests. We are the Black Channel. Now, what they went on to say in this article was that candidates, strategists, and organizers should look to the brutal shootings in Louisville and Brunswick as flashpoints to mobilize existing black voters and activating brand new ones in 2020. The law will proceed as planned. Court hearings will happen as prosecutors and defense lawyers clash. That will take a while. A more immediate step is to honor the memories of Ahmaud and Breonna with clear political action versus the impatience of a microwave movement. We can send a clear message that this violence won't be tolerated and that all responsible parties will be punished in the court of law and in corridors of power. That's not the way white men talk. White men are the ones in power, and they don't discuss how courts of law are going to maintain control over black people. That's not the way they talk. Now, let me explain to you what's really stupid about this article here so that you can start seeing things in their proper perspective. If this article were truly serious, now I will tell you how the political process can work in our favor. If this article were truly serious about that, it wouldn't be telling black folk to do anything. Do you understand that? If you pick up Jewish newspapers do not instruct Jewish people to vote. Did you hear me, one? Jewish newspapers don't encourage Jewish people to vote. And I'll tell you something else. Latino newspapers, Latino news channels, they don't encourage Latinos to vote either. Oh, yeah. And one more thing. Gay publications and gay personalities, they don't encourage gay people to get up and vote either. See, a lot of y'all are slow. A lot of you are raised by bastard baby makers, church folk, functional and in some cases non-functional illiterates. So you don't understand this. You see, these other folks, their media publications don't encourage them to vote. When they put out a headline, it says, what is this candidate going to do for us? You see, in the Jewish press, the headline reads, what is Joe Biden going to do to court the Jewish vote? Are the Democrats going to address Jewish issues? In Latino newspapers, it is, what are the Democrats going to do to galvanize the Latino vote? In gay publications, it is, what are these candidates going to do for gay people? But when you come over to the bootlick dead black media, they flip that around and say, what are black people gonna do for Democrats? Why, what are black people? And we don't ask, what are the candidates gonna do for black people? We're not gonna ask, what are the candidates going to do to galvanize the black vote? we're going to ask, hey, niggas, what you going to do for the Democratic candidates? No, it's not just they have a Jewish first agenda or Latino first agenda. It is that they started off correctly and they asked the question, what are the candidates going to do for us? How are the candidates going to motivate us to come vote for them? But you understand, these black so-called publications are controlled by the white slave masters in the political structure, so they flip it. When they talk about us, they flip it. And suddenly it's no longer asking, what are the candidates going to do for us? It becomes, what are we going to do for the candidates? So it isn't asking the candidates, maximizing what you're going to do for us. It becomes yelling about what we're going to do to empower them. It's going to be about that. That's what it becomes a question of. So what I'm telling you is that when they control the media, when they control the person talking, they tell black folk a completely different set of instructions than they tell everybody else. They tell everybody else knows that you're supposed to demand that the candidates deliver something to you first. But for black folk, it simply becomes vote for the lesser of two evils. You got to get out there and support. Doesn't matter what the Democrat candidate is offering, what they stand on. Doesn't matter if they do the exact same damn thing as the Republicans. You need to do something for them, not them doing something for you. I want you all to understand that this is political warfare, so you can see that words matter. I took you through all of these candidates' so-called black pledges to black society and showed you how they flipped each one into minorities, people of color, disadvantaged communities, marginalized groups, and showed you, yeah, it ain't about you. So it's going to be more of the same. You got nothing to vote for. And now, once again, I'm showing you how their puppets in the black media have been instructed that you don't sit up here and tell black folk to demand something of us. You tell black people they're already getting what they need from us, and that what they need to do is get up off their ass and come support us to get more of what we ain't been given. So now you all recognize how they've been flipping it on you, how they've changed it on you, how they've twisted it and turned it. Now that you recognize that, when somebody tells you these things, this is what you say. Show me the candidate who's saying what he's going to do for us. I don't have to do a damn thing. You have to get out and vote. No, I don't. The candidate has to motivate me to vote. I don't have to do a damn thing. It's the candidate who needs to motivate me. The candidate needs to convince me. The candidate needs to energize me. That's why he's the candidate. They got these big political structures. Trump is very, very good at motivating his base. Why are the Democrats not doing? Let me tell y'all something right now. Can you all show me the Democrat candidate who is talking to black people the way that Trump talks to white folk? Oh, I'm hurting feelings. Whole lot of Democratic nominated idiots out there and stiff-jawed broads out there gonna be eating ramen soup, ramen noodles, and cat food. Very upset. I understand it. Folks, can you show me the Democratic candidate anywhere who is talking to black people the way that Trump talks to white folk? Trump talks to white folk in a pro-white manner. Can you show me the Democrat candidate who is the flip side of that, who speaks to black people in a pro-black manner, who talks about black empowerment, how we built this country, and how we will retain control in black hands. Show me that. Because when you look at white publications and white media outlets, that's the way they talk. I think it's Channel 3 in Louisville has been up there putting Breonna Taylor on trial for her own murder. She was murdered by the Louisville police. And, oh, by the way, I'm wondering, because I know that's Louisville, I wonder, is there a former WWE wrestler who's in office in that area? I might be wrong. I wonder if there's one in that area. I'm wondering. Someone can correct me on that if I'm wrong. I just thought that was a brief aside. I just thought that was a brief, interesting aside. I just thought so. I was just wondering, by the way. Moving right along. Moving right along. Moving right along. No. I don't mean in Louisville. That's not what I mean. Not in Louisville. Not in Louisville. That's not what I meant. Not what I meant. I just think it's a very brief aside. I've got my eye on that area because I'm telling you all, you're going to see more. Yes, you're correct. Knoxville County, I believe it is. I believe it's Knoxville County. And I want you to keep your eyes on that kind of thing. I want you to keep your eyes on it. Keep your eyes on that for the future. That's your most well-known personalities. You've got a lot of conservative people in that area, that Tennessee, Kentucky area. If you take a look at it on the map, it looks like one damn place. And I'm instructing you all now, keep your eyes on that. Where you've seen places where black folk have been murdered wholesale at the Waffle House. You see where black folk are getting shot up in these places like that. And if you're asking yourself, we don't just wake up one day and folk are talking against us. We don't just wake up one day and people are not supporting our interests. They were never supporting it to begin with. And I want you to keep your eyes on those areas. Because we're always the last ones to know, but then everybody else jumps up on us later, and then we're just being swarmed by them. When they were showing so-called conservative leanings before, right-wing leanings before, ain't nobody said anything black-wing leaning to you. Nobody has said anything that was black-leaning. So they tell you go vote for this candidate or vote for that candidate. This person is a Democrat. This person's a professional wrestler. This person is this person is that. And nobody is talking about, by the way, here's what they are going to do for you. I submit to you that you can't win political office in those areas if you're not a hardcore white supremacist. You can't win political office in those areas without that. And from Memphis to Nashville to Knoxville, black folk are waiting until somebody jumps on them before something happens. They're waiting until somebody jumps on them after something happens, not before. The time to be doing something about it is before it happens. But you can't do anything before it happens if you don't actually have an agenda. And an agenda that begins with, what can I do for the candidates? That's not an agenda. That's not an agenda. Keep your eyes and your ears open. Keep your eyes and your ears open, because understand, folks, there's a reason that we're seeing these murders happen in places like Georgia and Tennessee out of the way places. It isn't happening in Atlanta. It's not happening in major metropolitan areas. Watch out for these folk like that. Rand Paul and others. Watch out for them. Individuals that you hadn't really thought of in that way. These so-called backwater states, keep your eyes open. So when things happen, you realize, hell, they were putting the pieces in place long before we got there. We're going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines now. Caller from area code 702. You're on live with the Black Channel. Turn off your speakers. What is your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Richie, calling from Las Vegas here. Thanks for taking my call. Enjoy your show. Whether we get along or agree or not, that's not a good information.
You are on speakerphone or something. I'll give you 5 seconds to get off of it. Either that or you're scared your mom's going to see you're up at this late calling people and going to spank you. So I don't know what's going on with your phone. Do you think you can get that straightened out?
I'm off the speakerphone now. Did you say something that I'm about me living with my mom?
What is your name and where are you calling from, sir?
Richie from Las Vegas.
Richie from Las Vegas. And what is on your mind?
All right, I'm calling to get some information. I just want to learn something. I think maybe I might be wrong about something, but I did agree with one of your last comments there that we need to have a black agenda and not be so much concerned with the candidate. And my question to you is, and to everybody I meet when you talk about politics, is what are black people going to do for black people? Are black people able to do things for black people? And should we? And I think the last thing I heard you talking about, or one of the last things, was a black agenda. We don't seem to have a black agenda. And that's from top to bottom. Now, one of the things I like to say to black people, one of my mantras is,
that's not what we're discussing tonight.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
That's not what we're discussing tonight. So clearly you either have not been paying attention or you want to discuss something different. We're not discussing.
I have been paying attention.
That's not what we're discussing tonight. Then you know that's not what we're discussing tonight if you have been paying attention.
You're not discussing whether or not we should vote for whoever we should vote for and what our vote means, and whether we should put together an agenda for these candidates and not wait for them to dictate to us what they're going to do for us. Is that what we're talking about?
No, we already have an agenda. The question that we're asking now is the only thing that needs to be discussed is what are the candidates going to bring to us? We already have a black agenda. The fact that Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders and all the rest of them who tried to do diversionary tactics all got ran out of town on a rail. The fact that Joe Biden is a non-factor in this election, that shows we have established a black agenda. The only question now is, what are the candidates going to do to cater to us? I've been saying this the entire broadcast, not a show. D.L. Hughley has a show. Steve Harvey has a show. I have a broadcast. In any case, what are they going to do for us? The only question now, and clearly you missed the part where I said Jewish people do not ask, what are we Jews going to do? When it's election time, they ask, what are the politicians going to do for us to get us to come vote for them? So why are you not asking? Why are you not asking that question when I already have articulated that?
I think the answer is obvious. Nothing. Whatever they say they're going to do, the result is going to be nothing. Now, if we already have a black agenda, sir, I will continue to listen, and I will, follow that agenda as best I can. All right? But that's what I'm calling about. We need to have an agenda for ourselves. As long as we're waiting for someone to answer our call, we're going to get the short end of the
We already have the agenda. That's the only thing now is if black people, the GRIO is telling us the discussion needs to be about voting. I'm saying the discussion can be about voting just as soon as a candidate motivates us to do so. If they're not motivating us to do so, and backing a black agenda is how you motivate us. Politicians are master communicators. If they are unable or failing at communicating to us, then it's because they have chosen to do so. Because if they can't speak clearly to us to reiterate our agenda, that is not what they're actually promoting. Thank you for giving us the
So
call.
what?
As Black people here, the problem that we run into is babbling. And unfortunately, powerless Black males don't speak the language of power. They speak the language of getting attention. So then it just becomes about asking questions, not about actually solidifying. Understand, folks, I was the guy who told you all that we need to recognize when we're winning. I said it 7 years ago, and that you could not wait for the white media to tell you that you were winning. They were never going to hold up a headline that says the new Black media is running the yard and is winning. Take a look at them becoming desperate. Take a look at them attempting to reference us on the periphery. Nobody asked Jewish people what they want. Did you notice that? Nobody asked Jewish people what they want. Nobody asked gays what they want. Nobody asked Latinos what they want, because they understand the rest of these folks don't play no games with you like that. If you don't come in the door, out the gate, saying what it is they want, they're not going to move for you. They move and do something else. But when it comes to Black folk, it then becomes about what are we going to do? When you can see all the things that Black folk need, then it becomes, well, what are Black folk gonna do? Well, Black folk, what we gonna do? I meant what I said. I'm not gonna do a damn thing. You motivate me to move.